Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Loralei Stripes from Monster High. For this pattern, you're going to need some tan skin tone bands. If you don't have those, you could use a different skin tone, a lighter brown, a beige. I'm going to use a light orange this time just because my skin tones are running short. But the tan skin tone is probably the closest match if you've got it. Caramel or brown for the hair. I've used a little bit of white and pink for the letter, the sashes, whatnot, the belt. You could also go with purple. You could leave the pink out. It's up to you. The shoes I did in white. If you wanted to incorporate some black into that, that's an option you can go with. And this is something I was thinking would be neat. If you happen to have a letter M bead or a Monster High logo on a sticker or whatnot, that would be really cool to put on the chest. If you have a way to attach that, that's definitely something you might consider. Lastly, for the eyes, I'm going to use a couple of green bands. Now you can use a different color of bands, or if you've got some small pony beads or round pearl beads or colored pony beads, that's another direction you can go. Beyond that, you're going to want to have a hook. You can have a holding hook or extra stick to put the parts on if that makes this easier for you. You'll want a standard loom. I've got it in the offset configuration. And you'll be wanting to have a couple of C-clips on hand. Now we're going to be doing all of the limbs on the hook and the rest on the loom, and a couple of parts we'll add in at the end. Just one other quick note. You can see there's some white at the bottom. I had wanted to incorporate a little bit of pink on top, but when I tried, I got something a little bit like this. I'm not sure if you can see very well there, but it looked really funny. So I decided to simplify and just do the white hem at the bottom of the skirt, and that's what we're gonna go with again here. Okay, no more ado, let's begin. We're gonna do the arms first. So you'll take the color that you want for the fur or the skin. As I said, I've got a light orange here. You're going to take two, wrap them on the hook 1, 2, and 3 times. If you're looking to save bands, you can use just the one. And we're going to put this onto a chain of 12 doubled over singles. So you'll take one, twist it, bring it back on top of itself, nice and tight, put it on the end and slide it over. If it makes it easier for you, you can double your bands over and put them on the loom and loop up on there. And if you feel like 12 is too many or too long, you can make it 10 or 8, whatever you like, but the 12 seems to be a good length there, I think. This is my third one. 4. 5. 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and 12. Now I like to keep all of my parts on the hook, but if you feel like it will be easier to access them or that they'll be in the way for your next section, you can put this onto another hook or grab a new hook to work with. Otherwise, I'm just going to slide this down and I'm going to make another arm in the same way. So we'll take 2, wrap them 1, 2, 3 times and pull onto 12 doubled over singles. About halfway there. Guess I should mention before we get to the dress, if you had wanted to do different colors entirely, I've gone with her cheerleading outfit, but you are always welcome to, to go with the different color scheme for an outfit or change it up to your liking. Now, if you put your 2 arms next to each other and straighten them out, they should come out to land at the same length, and that's how you can tell, or one way to tell that you've got the right number, the other being to stretch it and count the links. But I believe I've got my 12 there. So I'm going to do the legs next, and I'm starting with the shoe. Again, I'm using white and only white to simplify. If you want to mix in some black on that or go with a different color entirely, you certainly can. Single white, wrapped 1, 2, 3 times. Pull it onto 2 bands. Pull it onto 2 bands. Even it out a little if you need to. And we're going to take a single white band, stretch it, twist it, double it over, put it on the end, slide it through, and that will make for a nice little ankle joint. It sort of separates out the shoe from the leg. Now I had sort of wanted to do the very skinny tight legs, but the problem with that when you get into long pieces is, as you can see with the arms, they start to curl, it makes it harder to control, and I thought this looked just fine. So we are going to go with double bands instead of doubled over. That means 2 at a time, and I'm going to do 10 sets of 2. So I'm putting 2 on the end, I'm sliding my shoe over, and we'll need 9 more sets of 2. So that was the first. This is the second, third, fourth. I should go a little bit faster than the arms. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We have a second leg to make in exactly the same way, so single white, slide 1, 2, 3 times, onto 2, onto 2, onto a doubled over single, even it out if you feel the need. Switch to your skin tone, and 10 sets of double bands. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We have one more limb to do here before we go to the loom. That's going to be our tail. Okay, so the first let's start with the first 12. I'll show you why in a minute here. Skin tone again. Now if you feel like you want to throw some brown bands into there along the way, you can put them in intermittently. You really don't need to though. She doesn't really have stripes on her tail, but that I recall, but if that's something you want to add, you can. I'm going to take my single, I'm going to wrap it nice and tight 4 to 5 times. And we're going to make a chain of doubled over single. So let's start with 12 here. And then I have a quick note to tell you before we finish it off. And that one doesn't want to go. Come in. No. I've got nails, nice long nails today. Well, long enough, but I don't want to break, like cut through my bands either, so I'm being careful here. So these are doubled over. This is the second one. 3, 4. It's okay if it curves a little as you go. 5, 6, 7, 8, that's my cat crunching cat food behind me. One of my cats. 11 and 12. Now at this point you have 3 options. One, you can finish your tail here and have a shorter tail. So if you are trying to minimize the number of bands you're using, you can have a shorter tail. Second option is to add 4 more in the same color. And third option, which is totally a cheat, but if you again are looking to save bands, you can do the last 4 in another color, something you maybe have extra of or don't use as often, and it won't show because it's on the back. But that's one way you can get it to its full length without using up all of your skin tone bands if that happens to be in short supply. Okay, I'm gonna do the last 4 in just the same skin tone, but I wanted to give you those options there because again, you might feel you're happy with the shorter tail or you might be panicking about how many bands you're using. All right, so we have all of our pieces and we can go to the loom now. Okay, let me make sure we're all on camera here. We're gonna start with 2 skin tone bands. Tan skin tone bands. I'm using my orange still. Top center to the second peg down in the center. Top second center to the second side. Another 2 second center to the other side, second peg down. And on the middle row, we're going to come down one more time with double skin tone bands, like so. From here, I'm going to switch to black. And on either side, I'll come down 8 times with double black bands. So 2 bands together each time. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Other side, same thing. I'm starting at that second peg down. We're going to follow it through 8 times with double bands each time. And we're going to continue with black in the middle. So start at the 3rd peg down. We're going to come down once, twice, It should end just above the other side. So I think that gives us 7, but we'll see in a minute here. That's 3, 4, 5, 6. These are all sticking together for some reason. And 7. There we go. And now I'm switching to white for that bottom hem. If you decide that you'd like that to be black as well, you can do the last set in black. I am switching though, so we'll do, let's try and see what we got here. I think we have a doubled over single right where we left off with the black, and that's going to be on each of the rows. I'm just looking at my picture here. I find it's the most efficient way to track what I've done. When I start writing it out, it's sometimes harder to follow. But this is making sense here. Okay, now our tail, should be the first thing to access there. Let me just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So from the top center, you're going to count down 1 set, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pick that off of your loom. Put your tail on. Put it back on. If that's very challenging for you to do, you can remove the bands below and then lay that down and continue. You should probably be able to, without too much trouble though, pop it off, add it on, replace, I'm hoping. Let's put our legs on. Now these ones I did in a slightly strange way because I didn't want them to show up like right in the middle here and hang out of the skirt. I wanted it to sort of sit behind. So with that in mind, we're going to take 1 black, put both your legs onto it, and this is going to go, if you count up from the bottom of your loom, 4 pegs, that's where you're going to put that. And we want to reach into that black band between where the legs are, separate it and bring it over the 4th peg from the bottom. You'll still have a bit of a triangle there. Now on the bottommost pegs that we use, so the 3rd ones from the top, you can take 2 white bands and stretch them across and lift 1 piece and then the other up over that center 3rd peg from the bottom, like so. Okay, we can attach the arms now. You've probably heard me say this in other videos. Depending on which angle you add it on from, you can have your arms curling in or curling out or curling up. So if you need to, you can flip it around, put it on a different hook, choose to place it on the opposite side, whatever you need to do to angle that arm into where you'd like it to be. So it might mean taking it off of your hook and then turning it around. And if you don't really care which way it curls, then it's all good anyways. Okay. Last thing before we start to loop up, we're gonna need some holding bands, and we've got a little side extension to add. So holding bands next. Gonna take a black band, go across the 3rd peg down from the top, repeat below on the 4th pegs. On the next 2, we want to have doubled over singles. That will make it a little bit tighter, control the shape of the torso, the body a bit more. And then for the next 3, just single bands stretched across in the triangle formation there. These ones can be a little bit looser because we want the bottom skirt to flare out more. Okay, the side extension, and that's going to give us that nice little curve and puff to the skirt. We're taking a single white, wrapping it 1, 2, 3 times. Put it onto a doubled, I think we did a doubled over single white, and then onto 3 sets of double black bands. So onto 2 black bands, onto 2 black bands, and then one more time. You're going to take the bands that are sitting on your hook and put them onto the 7th peg from the top, which should be the same peg across which you put your tail piece. And I'm going to turn this around just to get a better angle to move and show this. You're going to stretch it out to the side, and you'll see there's a loop underneath. This is the next section of the chain. Take one of those bands and pull it over the 8th peg from the top. Stretch it down a little further. Take another band, bring it over that next peg down, and then in that little tight white section, you're going to get one of the bands and pull it over that last peg that we've used. And then we can repeat this on the opposite side. So a single white wrapped, I think we said 3 times, onto a doubled over single white, onto 3 sets of double black bands. We're going to lay this on the exact same way that we did on the first side. So onto the 7th peg from the top, grab 1 band out of each of the sections below and snug it onto the and snug it onto the pegs below. I feel like I've done something wrong here. Let me have a little look. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I did miss one. Hold on. Okay, so our black should go on the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th, and then the white will go onto the one of... I think I used 2 black bands from the same set. Weird. Sorry, the last one you want to take out of just that end knot, that end little white bulb if you can. If you're really struggling with this and you want to add on one more black, make it a little longer, you can play around with that as well. Okay, so we had 3 black sets we put on the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th, and then there was a white set we put on the 10th from the top, and then you grab a little piece out of that bottom bulb, that little circle, the first band we put on the hook, and that's going to stretch to the bottom. Now we can finally loop up. So I'm going to start in the middle, it's kind of the easiest, and I'm going to loop up until the 3rd peg from the top. I'm going to grab the 2 bottom pegs on that 3rd peg, or sorry, the 2 bottom bands, or only bands on that 3rd peg from the bottom of the loom. Bring them up and over the peg above. Reach in for the next 2, and there really shouldn't be anything on your way as you're going. When you get to the tail, you can loop that up as you normally would. So grab it, lift it over. You don't want to go back through the tail piece. You don't have to move it to the side or anything. It shouldn't be a problem. And I'm going to just go up until I get to the orange or skin tone bands. I'm going to stop there. Now if you're working ahead, do not forget to come back and loop that in when you get to the end. And now we're going to come back and we're going to do the sides. So on the sides, if you look really closely and if you're familiar with looming, you'll recognize that there are 2 bands, a row of double bands coming along the bottom. And those are the ones we're going to be aiming for. So with the open part of the hook pointed to the top of the loom, I'm pressing back the top holding bands, I'm going to catch the bottom two, bring it up and over, and repeat. If you're having trouble finding your bands, you can use your hook or your fingernails and pull it to the side, and that will, then you'll feel the tug when you catch the correct ones. I know sometimes also it helps me to change the angle or to change the angle that I'm holding the loom at, or turn the loom around. It's easier or easiest, I find, if you're holding it in your lap in your hands. I've got it on the table flat, so it's a tiny bit awkward, but not terrible. When you get to the second peg from the top on the side, you want to reach in for the bottom two and bring those to the center second peg down. You should get that nice little teardrop shape if everything is in alignment. You can have one more look and see that nothing is hanging loose on the bottom, and that should be a good indication that you've got the right bands looped and that nothing's missing. If something is, go back, fix it. It'll be more of a pain if you gotta do it from scratch later. Okay, I'm gonna loop up the other side. So push back those triangle bands and all of the bands on the top, all of your extension bands. You're gonna get the bottom twos and bring them forward. Oh, I almost missed that one. And when you get near the top, reach in for the bottom two, bring them to the second center. And now I'm gonna come back and make sure I get the band at that third peg down, bring it up, and the last two, bring them forward. So if everything is secure, then your body is being held together by the bands on that top center peg, so don't lose them. You can put them on a hook, a holding hook, a C-clip, or your finger, and start to remove some of the other bands. So right now I'm just loosening this all up. I'm going to save the top ones for last, because as I say, that's where it's being held together. And when most of the body is off, you can take your hook and put it through the bands on that top center peg. Make sure you go through all four, pull it off, and release the rest. Okay, now if you have any horribly loose bands or great concerns, you can secure them at this point with a C-clip, weave them in. For now, we're not going to worry too much otherwise about which is the front or the back, because once we have all the pieces together, then you can move around the tail and make adjustments to turn this around if you like one side better. I'm going to put this down. Actually, we'll do the ears and then we'll put it down for a second here. Okay, so the ears are actually pretty simple. I tried a couple of things and I like these, and as I say, it happened. This is a pretty straightforward way to do it. So on your hook, or on a different hook if you like, single skin tone, wrap 1, 2, 3, 4 times. You're going to take 3 bands if you can handle it, 2 bands if 3 is too much. Twist them over onto themselves. It's going to be really tight. You could also do this on the loom, or you could use a couple of bands and just double them over, use you know, like 3-4 bands at a time. This works nice and tight with the 3 though, and I'm going to slide my wrapped band over. So this might be a little bit of a challenge, but it makes for a nice effect, and it's, like I say, like a 2-step thing. And replace. So that's one ear. That's all it takes. Another single wrap. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 3 bands. Twist, double it over, slide it on. Oops. Try and get all of those. And replace. Okay. So if you've got your ears and you've got your body ready to go, now we can go to the loom. I'm gonna get my next picture ready. And we'll take 2 of a brown or caramel, whatever color you'd like for your hair. Put it on the end of your hook and slide 1 ear onto it, and then stretch it from the top center to the top side peg on either of the sides, so you can choose which. Okay, like so. Do the same for the opposite side. I feel like my ear is upside down there. I think I'm even gonna switch around the band there. Okay. That's Paisley. Now for the next part, we're gonna put down 2 hair colored or caramel bands on each of the rows coming down. I'll put these on and then hold up the camera for you to see. And from here we'll switch to your skin tone again. 3 times down in the middle, starting at the second peg down, double bands each time. And on either side we want to come down 2 times with double bands. Once more, let me get this laid out and then I'll hold it up again. This is a pretty standard face pattern if you're familiar with. 2 skin tone from the 4th side to the 5th center. So it's going to come in diagonally and then mirror that on the opposite side. You want to try to keep these sort of stacked and layered one on top of the other. And you can put your body down. So the bands that are on the hook, we're going to transfer them onto the 5th peg down in the center. If you are overly concerned about the body being in the way, you can stretch that all the way over onto the peg below, but that will stretch out your bands a little, so if you don't feel the need, I would say to leave it. And we're going to do a doubled over single band across the 4th pegs down. On the 2nd pegs down, you can use your hair color or your skin color. Take 1 doubled over single. And for this middle one, we're going to do the eyes. So I'll show you very, very quickly. If you have beads that you're using, I would suggest larger ones, and you can put them right onto your hook and then transfer those onto a doubled over single skin tone. Lay it across the 3rd pegs down on either side. And if you have white beads like you saw there and you'd like to add on colored pupils, standard permanent marker works just fine. I'm going to do it with bands here, so take a single grain, wrap it 4 times. Move it down the hook a little bit. Another one, 1, 2, 3, 4. Put it onto my doubled over single skin tone. Slide both of those on, and I'm going to try and keep a little space between. And regardless of the kind of eyes you've used, whether it's beads or bands, you're going to be putting that doubled over single skin tone across the 3rd pegs from the top. And reach between the eyes on the band and take the top half and bring it over the 3rd peg down in the middle. You know what, I'm going to make a really, really quick note or mention for you is if you are doing beads and you, or even with the bands, and you want it to sort of cat eye on, you can angle it down by doing a doubled over band across to the 2nd pegs from the top. But that might take a little bit of playing around with. So if you're not so familiar or comfortable with this, then this is the easiest, most straightforward way. Okay, so for the last part before we loop up the hair, I've made my hair very thick by using sets of 3. If that seems like too much or you're looking to preserve your bands, you can do it with double bands instead. To get the effect you saw there, we're taking a single, wrapping it 1, 2, 3 times on the hook. And I'm going to take 3 bands, slide it through. And we're going to do this 5 times. So this is the second set of 3, the third set of 3, the fourth set of 3, and the fifth set of 3. If you want to minimize, you can do it with sets of 2. If you are a little crazy and want it to be extra thick, you could even do it in sets of 4. The last time I'm just going to use 2, and the reason is that we're putting this onto the top center band, or sorry, top center peg, and it's going to get a little crowded there. So let's transfer those on. And just like with the side extension for the body, we're going to stretch it down, take one part of each chain to lay across or over each of the pegs below. Okay, like so. Same thing on the other side. Then we'll be ready to loop, and then I can show you a couple of options for finishing off and accessorizing with, again, the belts and the letters and whatnot. And honestly, that's the part that gets a little bit tricky, but we're getting close to the end here, and yeah, hopefully it'll go smooth for you. Okay, this is second set of 3. Doesn't want to go. Third set, fourth set, and fifth set. I'm afraid my Loralei is looking kind of funny with the orange, but as I say, it'll show you the how-to, and you can hopefully you've got a skin tone you're more happy with, and the tan skin tone being the ideal, just not available to me in high enough quantity right now, unfortunately. Thought about showing you this with a darker orange or light brown, but I thought this would probably be the closest I got there. Okay, does look funny with the orange. Now I'll turn it sideways here just to get a better view for you. We're gonna pull down the part that has the body and reach inside for the 2 bands that are above all the rest. And these are gonna go, in my case, up to the far side. The next 2 are coming to this closer side. Now you can usually tell if you've got the wrong ones because you'll see something like this happening. If it's keeping those nice circles and nice teardrops, then you're probably on the right track. And the last 2 are gonna go up. That slipped there. Let me grab it from underneath. Here we go. Okay. No, almost saved. Did I get it? I think so. Okay. On either side, we can loop up the bottom 2 orange. So push back the top ones, get the bottom 2. It's right, not orange, skin tone, I should say. Next 2, it's orange in my case. And push back for the bottom 2 hair colored bands, and then come inside for your bottom 2 diagonal bands that are coming from the top, and they are the ones that have the ears on them. I'm having a hard time seeing those today. There we are. Okay, so that's in the top center now. You can loop up the other side, push back your side extensions, your triangle holding bands, everything but the bottom 2 bands in each case. When you get to the top, reach in for the bottom 2, bring them to this top center, And then you want to go to your fourth peg from the bottom, sorry, from the top. Reach in and loop up your skin tone, another 2 skin tone, and your hair ones. Now you can use 1 or 2 bands in your hair color to secure this. Put it on a couple of your, like your pointer finger, first 2 fingers there. I'm going to put the hook down, straight down through all the bands on that top center peg, wiggle it through, and grab my 1 or 2 securing bands. As I slide it straight up, I'm going to start turning it so that the open part is facing up away, and we'll put the back piece on. And then slide the first part of the band over top of the band and the hook. Then you want to hold on to that hook, finger, or C-clip and remove everything from the loom very carefully. And there are going to be a couple of slightly tighter spots here because we've layered it up and we've used some doubled bands. Okay, now at this point you should be able to sort of tell which side your eyes are more prominent on, if the hair is covering anything, if there are parts of the dress that you're not happy with, and you can figure out which side you want to have as your front. I kind of like this for my front. So you'll take your holding band, your securing band, and you can get that to the back and put it on a C-clip. I think I'm going to try and slide mine under here just to make it look a little cleaner. But you should be able to just grab it over the top, really. Okay. I'll give you a couple of adjustments you might like to play around with, and then I'll show you how to add on those last pieces as best I can here. If you have any loose bands, and I sort of see one here, you can pop those onto your C-clip as well. Okay, so first of all, if you found that if for example this was your front and your tail was sticking out, you can turn it around, reach through, and find where that tail is and kind of press it to the other side. For the ears, if you're feeling like they're too far back, you can grab a couple of bands at the front and bring it over. And that will just help it pop a little bit more. So I'm seeing there are 2 bands like directly in front. I want to get my hook under those, bring it over. At this point, if you have used beads and want to draw on pupils, that's something you can do. Okay, let's do the neckline next. So that's this part. You can use pink, purple, or white, or a combination. You want to get a couple of bands of that color. If you've got some that are a little stretched out already, it's even better. I'm going to grab a C-clip, and we're going to reach in from the back to the front and try to come out where that black V starts. I'm going to put my 2 pinks on my finger, hold them there, and slide it to the back where you can put it onto a C-clip. So this is what you'll see on the back, and this is what we have on the front. Now these are probably safe to take off your finger for a little bit if you're careful about it. If you're concerned, you can kind of keep a hold on it. And basically you're going to pull it over the shoulder, just like so, and reach it around onto the C-clip. If it's not reaching very well, you can slide another band through it to get you that extra length, or you can weave it under a couple of bands. On the other side, we're going to reach it and twist that a little, trying to get you a good view there. So reach it over and to the back and onto the C-clip. If you feel the C-clip's getting too busy, you could add another C-clip, but I'm going to add a couple more here, so I don't want it to get too crowded with C-clips either. So that's all we need for the pink V. That worked out easier than factoring it in while we were looming, believe it or not. The next part is the little belt. So for that I used 2 white and 2 pink. Again, purple would be just fine here, or you could use one color and not the other. And I'm gonna look for my tail and reach in around where my tail is or just over. Again, I'm looking to come in through the middle. So that's my hook there. And this part can be a little bit trickier, but basically I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna take all 4 bands, I'm gonna put them on my hook, I'm gonna slide them to the back and put them on a C-clip. You can put them onto another band first. I found that that looked a little bit funny. What is my cat doing? I hope they're not destroying furniture in there. Then we're going to stretch it around. So it's going to be sort of like this. Maybe we'll switch these up here. Let's see. Okay, so sort of like this. We're going to be pulling them around. And this time you might want to use another band just to help with the stretch there. So I'm going to go through the bands I pulled to the back. I'm going to put a pink through there. Put my other end of the hook through. Slide it under. Create that little slip knot, and now that should reach to your C-clip. But as a bonus, that will probably also reach around when I bring my other side over. I can probably get that same band through if I don't want to get another. And we'll put that on the C-clip. Again, if it's feeling like too much of a stretch, you can throw, oops, oh no, it came off. You can throw another C-clip on. That would be, again, another option to do here. So if you wanted to just put this on a C-clip, you could certainly do that. I'm going to try one more time to make this all fit here. This might take a little bit of fiddling around, but again, whatever's working for you is great. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's so cute. Okay, last 2 things, these are totally optional, and as I said, for the M on the chest, if you've got a letter M to work with, or you might have, like I say, a sticker or logo, you can certainly do it that way. Otherwise, I'm gonna try this similar to how we did the last 2 parts. So we're gonna reach in about the middle. I'm getting another C-clip ready. Taking 2 whites and sliding them on into the back and putting those on my C-clip. Now this might take a couple of tries to get the pieces where you want them to be. Take your time, don't worry. I'm gonna come up a little bit up and diagonal, grab one of the pieces, pull it to the back, put it on the C-clip. Come up on the other side a little bit to the diagonal. I'm gonna try to mirror where the first one landed. Slide that to the back and onto the C-clip. And here you might want to have another C-clip. We're gonna reach in at the top of that V, bring a white to the back, use your same C-clip or get a new one. I know it's getting busy back here, but it does look nice when it's done. So you'll have something like this. You want it to settle a straight line down. So let's find a place maybe around here. Let's try that. Kind of like so. I think I can do better. Let's try somewhere a little lower. Maybe in this sort of third body chain down, thinking. Oh, almost got it. I had it there. There we go. Okay, that's pretty straight. And put that onto one of your C-clips. Now I'm not sure, but you might even find an S-clip would be handy for this. And last one, top of the V, or top of that mark on the other side, slide it through onto your C-clip, onto a C-clip. If you feel like there are going to be too many C-clips, you can kind of play around with weaving these under other bands so that you can connect them and don't have to have as many going. And we're going to pull that through. So for example, I could take this one. For example, I could take one of these off the C-clip, slide it under, and then put it back on, and that would secure both pieces. Okay, very last thing. Honestly, you can really do without this, but if you wanted to have the line, like the colored stripes or marks or lines on the leg, I'll show you how to do that. I didn't like love the effect myself, and I don't know how necessary it is, but I will give you that option. So to do that, a single, put your hook through, grab another single, slide it through, put the end back on, pull it under for a slip knot. This will give you a nice long piece, and then you're basically going to weave it up the leg or down the leg. So start a couple of chains down, or chains from the top, put your hook through, grab one end and pull it to the back. Put that on a C-clip. And if you're like me, you're probably getting sick of C-clips by now, but this is the last one and the last part. And then what I did is I kind of wove it in. So I'm gonna go under the next part, grab the end, slide it under. Go down through the next part, grab the end of that caramel, bring it through, slide it under. Go to the next one, come from the back to the front, grab the caramel, pull it through. And what ends up happening is you get it kind of woven in there. You could even do it another 1 or 2 times. And then you can either add another C-clip at the bottom, which is kind of a pain, or, okay, so like so, or I can turn to the back and go under a band. You can weave it in this way, so go under any old band, pull it over, under a band, the next band that you see, pull it under, and you can work your way back up to that same first C-clip. Honestly, like I say, I don't know that the effect is worth the bother of doing that part, but if you want to be like try and stay accurate, you certainly can go for that. Okay, I think that's everything, so let me show you the 2 finished ones, my funny orange version and my tan skin tone Loralei. You can also see the slight difference between the bands and the beads. I personally like the beads better myself, but it's all good. It's totally up to you. And I think we're all done. So I'll put this on my channel right away and add it to my Monster High Rainbow Loom tutorial list. I hope you'll check some of those out. And I thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.